It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
What's going on? It's Friday. Looking forward to a good night of high school football tonight. Looking forward to Razorback football tomorrow. It's week 2 in the college football season. It's week 1 in the high school football season. And we had NFL kickoff last night. For those of you that watched the Broncos and the Ravens, lightning struck twice. Struck before the game to delay it, and then it struck again when Peyton Manning went nuts for 7 touchdown passes in the Broncos' season-opening win. What a game from Peyton Manning. 7 touchdown passes. Hasn't been done in 100 years, nearly, something like that. Just a long, long time since somebody's made that kind of impact on a game and that kind of performance. An incredible game from Peyton Manning. You could tell that Wes Welker fit in pretty well, and those guys that he's got a ton of weapons. Julius Thomas was his tight end with the first 2 touchdown catches, and then I thought Demarius Thomas was going to get a little upset in the first half because Wes Welker's catching all these passes, and then he catches 2 long ones there in the second half, including a 77-yarder to get him over 160 yards and get me beat in fantasy football. There's a league that I'm going to get whipped in because Demarius Thomas went nuts for that last touchdown. I don't feel as bad for myself, though, as I feel for my boy Ryan Martin. I'm sorry. You've got to play against Peyton Manning this week in fantasy football, and you're down 98-0 already. So I'm sorry that you're going to lose in your fantasy football opener this week, but I am just pumped that the NFL is back. Looking forward to a good college football slate this weekend. It's not as good as it was last weekend, but there will be some decent games. Maddie's going to get to go to the Arkansas-Samford game, so he'll be there just in time to watch Arkansas roll over Samford. Just like about as bad as they want to. I talked to Drew Brent yesterday on Arkansas Sports Night on ARN, and he asked me what I thought the score was going to be, and I said, it's a name that score game. It's just as bad as you want it to be. If you're Arkansas, you can just pretty much say, okay, I want 55-3, like I'm going to say the score is today. Say I want it, or 6 is what I have it. Or if you want it to be 60, 70 points, like Brett Bielema did a couple times at Wisconsin, they can do it. Samford's not good. We'll just see what Arkansas works on. We'll break down that game in a little bit. We'll tell you what we expect to see, but we want to know what your predictions are. So come to facebook.com/RVLnews or facebook.com/SportsBlitz and let us know what your predictions are for the game, whether they're as simple as just stay healthy or whether you've got an exact yardage total that Brandon Allen's going to throw for tomorrow. You just let us know. You can give us a call right now. The phone lines are open, 968-NEWS. That's 968-6397. We're going to have Brad Caldwell on about 11:30, and I'm expecting Jason Kilburn to be able to call in and talk with us because he's quickly he's gone from our favorite caller to a regular contributor. So we're looking forward to your calls, and Jason and Brad, whoever else might want to call today. If you're going to get a call in, you better get it in before Brad calls at 11:30. He'll tie up the phone line, and until we can figure out a way to work more than one line at a time, we'll have to just deal with one line. So get your call in right now. You can go to facebook.com/RVLnews or facebook.com/SportsBlitz to also talk with us. We've got, like I said, some big high school football games tonight, but before we get there, we need to give a big congratulations to Raymond Monica and the Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys. Got an opening season win last night at Northwestern Oklahoma. Randy Velasquez, the Dardanelle kicker, is now the kicker for the Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys, and he got his first points as a Wonder Boy last night as the Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys won 38-10 on Thursday night on the road. They'll come back against Northeastern Oklahoma, I believe, next week at almost called it Tucker Coliseum because they could play basketball in there or football in there. No, they've got come back to Burkle Field, Thone Stadium, and play Northeastern Oklahoma next weekend. So big win for Raymond Monica, and congratulations to the Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys on starting the season off the right way. But as we open up the show today, let's look at our Peters Family Living local sports look. We've got some big games tonight. I don't know if you've read the story, but if you go to rivervalleyleader.com, our intern Ryan Smith did a really good job talking about rivalry football games. And one of the things we love about being around this area at the beginning of the football season is that rivals play one another. You've got the Rivals Cup Atkins-Dover. Those two teams do not like one another. Those schools do not like each other. I actually saw a Twitter war last night from some of my friends, well, not my friends, my youth kids from church at Clarksville against Ozark. It's one of those things where they just don't like each other. And, it helps that the families grew up playing against each other. It's Hatfields and McCoy's stuff. Uncles and brothers and sisters and, grandparents grow up playing against one another. And then they play, their grandkids play each other, and it's just bred into them. You hate Atkins if you're from Dover. You hate Dover if you're from Atkins. So tonight in the Rivals Cup, that's going to be a great game. Atkins handled Dover last year. They look to be the favorite again this year, but hey, knowing Dover and Coach Greg Smith, who I apologize, Wednesday I said he was from Stuttgart. He is from Prescott, so I was a little off on that one. And I also said that Luke Price, the quarterback from Dover, was a sophomore, and he's actually a junior. So I caught a couple of mistakes watching the replay, so you'll have to forgive me, but I expect that Dover's going to bounce back in the near future because Coach Smith knows what he's doing. He knows how to put a winning product on the field, and Dover's going to come out and show up. They've got a rich tradition heritage there at Dover, so I expect tonight to be a fun game. Regardless, though, it's going to be a bloodbath. There are going to be fights on the field, and I'm not advocating that, but I can guarantee you that there is going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty tonight in that game. Not only is it two teams that don't like each other, but it's their first game, so they're getting those jitters out, and then they're just wanting to lay the wood as often as they possibly can. So I'm looking forward to a good game there. Also, another rivalry game in the Yale County, the Judges Cup. Dardanelle-Danville. Dardanelle won 33-0 last year. They look to have the upper hand again this year against Danville. Danville, though, in the past decade, been in the state championship game twice, won the conference several times, and just been a really big, they were a 2A power, now they're a 3A competitor, and Dardanelle's in the 4A, so they're outmanned as far as size and speed go for the most part most of the time, but Dardanelle and Danville do not like one another, so it's usually another close, tough game. I expect Dardanelle to have success tonight, especially with the transfer quarterback that they've got in there, Thompson from Pulaski Robinson, but I do like what I've seen from Dardanelle in the offseason so far. I've got to go to their Midnight Madness and a couple of their scrimmages, so I expect tonight to be a fun game there in Dardanelle in Yale County as well. Did you hear my True Grit coming out there? Dardanelle in Yale County. My dad still loves that movie, so I have to quote it for him. Anyway, looking forward to a good Judges Cup. We will be tonight live in Pottsville for the game of the week. Ryan Smith's going to be covering Pottsville versus Heber Springs. Looking forward to that one. And I'll be at Russellville-Morrilton in Morrilton. As Russellville won 20-12 last year, Morrilton's looking to be even better this year. Russellville is going to try to continue, well, I don't want to say continue because last year was the first year they beat Morrilton in several, but to stay on the right track against Morrilton. It's a 5A, 6A matchup. Morrilton's a 5A school, and Russellville is in the 6A, but it's going to be a good game regardless. From what I heard, Coach Hill was in here on Monday, and he was telling us about how Morrilton just absolutely dominated Ozark in a scrimmage, and Ozark was in the 4A state championship game last year. So Morrilton looks pretty good, and Russellville, although they're a bigger school, Morrilton's always given them trouble. So it's going to be a fun game tonight to watch the Cyclones and the Devil Dogs kick off their season. I talked to Coach Holt last night, and I asked him if he was ready. He said, "I wish tonight was tomorrow night," because he was watching the junior high, and he was just chomping at the bit, ready to watch his team play and put that product out on the field. So we look forward to watching them play. We want to say thank you to Russellville High School and Athletic Director Johnny Johnson for giving us a couple of well, it says here, River Valley Leaders Sports Show winner, good for admission to high school football games all season long. A couple of passes to give away. We gave away a couple Pottsville passes, and we will give away some Clarksville passes as well. Their home slate starts next week, and so does Russellville. But this is special. This isn't a one-game pass. This is all season pass. So what we're going to do starting next week is we are going to have some sort of good giveaway. We'll have to come up with something really good because this is all season. And we'll give away these 2 passes to go watch the Russellville Cyclones play all their home games in football. We've got a couple basketball too, so stay tuned for those when the time is right. But we're looking forward to giving these away. Thank you to Russellville High School for giving us those. Thank you to Pottsville for giving us the ones that you gave us. We've got 4 people coming your way this Friday night, tonight, to watch their Apaches ladies there are very excited about getting those tickets too. So I look forward to watching Michael Perry in the game, Coach Rust's team playing well tonight, and we'll give away those Russellville Cyclone tickets later on in the week. So looking forward to just a great night. You can go to rivervalleyleader.com tonight, and you can follow the games, you can read the game of the week, and you can look at the pictures from both of those games. But we need your help as well. If you possibly can, come on to facebook.com/RVL News tonight. I know you've got an iPhone. I know you've got a Droid. You've got some sort of smartphone that you'll have the internet when you're at your game tonight. Well, we're not going to be at every game, so we want your help. Go to facebook.com/RVL News tonight. You'll see a status where I'm going to say something like scoreboard, Friday night football scoreboard. And below it, I want you to comment with your score. And we're just going to have a running scoreboard below in a comments section of a status all night long with all the games from around the area. Ideally, I want people by the end of the night at their game to be scrolling through and reading the scores from all the other games before they even leave their game. I want them to know the final score to all the other games. So help us out with that tonight. I've already got several people who are interested in helping do that. We need Hector Two Rivers. Congratulations to Hector on a win over Hackett on Tuesday night, by the way, or Hartford, excuse me. Also, we need Hector Two Rivers, we need Lamar, we need Clarksville, Charleston. We need a couple of different games that we'll have to have scores from because we will not be able to make it on the scene. So we're looking forward to high school football kicking off tonight, and really ready, Maddie, for some high school football. Are you going to go to any games in the near future? You're not going to go watch your Cyclones, huh? Maddie was homeschooled, so he hates the Cyclones, even though he went there for the first part of his career. He's a hater. No, I'm just playing. Maddie loves the Cyclones. We love all the local teams around here. Your team's our favorite, though, whichever one it is. Let's take a break real quickly. I think we got Jason on the line, right? So Jason's going to come on and talk sports with us here in just a minute, but we're going to take a break first.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz on a Friday. Mark Freeman and nobody here in the studios, the Cogswell Motors studio. Maddie Lassiter is here with me. And we're joined on the line by Jason Kilburn, who, he just wants to give us his really, he wants to talk about Peyton Manning because he loves him so much. And no, I'm just putting words in his mouth now. And give us some predictions on the Razorbacks coming up tomorrow. Looking forward to a good weekend. Jason, Peyton Manning went nuts last night, didn't he?
Yeah, yes, he did. You was talking about his 7 touchdown passes. It's the first time it's happened since 1969, and I think it's only the 6th quarterback in NFL history to do that. So that's just amazing what he did last night. And I guess he had over 300 yards passing and 5 touchdowns just in the second half alone, which just it just blows my mind that a player can have that good of a game, let alone that good of a second half. It's mind-boggling to me. But I guess when I was talking about them not having the running game, that they wasn't going to be that good, that's what was going to hold them back. Well, if you got Peyton Manning back there, I guess it really doesn't matter.
Well, you know what I saw last night? He didn't want to throw anymore. They were ready to run it out, but they couldn't get a first down, and they went 3 and out on the running game, and then Baltimore went down and scored. And then, he basically, when he came back, he had to throw the ball just to salt it away, and he hits Demaryius Thomas on a little bubble screen. He went to the house, so 77-yard touchdown. So they wanted to sort of run it a little bit more. What I think is going to happen, though, is that I saw last night Baltimore several times, loaded the box, 7-8 guys, and basically said you're not going to run, which to me, when I've got Peyton Manning, I want to drop 8 into coverage and just pray that he doesn't kill me anyway, and let the running game gash me if we have to. But whatever we can do to keep Peyton Manning from beating me, that's what I want to do. Either way, though, it looked like what Baltimore did was, they kind of shot themselves in the foot and said, Peyton Manning beat us, and he just tore them to shreds. So I feel like from now on, though, you're going to see teams drop guys out of the box, and the running game is going to get on, and it may be even worse for other teams. Now, it won't be points-wise worse because they're not going to score 49 points very often, but you're going to see the running game pick up for Denver as well. And then when you've got Peyton Manning and those offensive weapons, the receivers, and then you get Monty Ball and Noshawn Moreno, Ronnie Hillman, those guys going in the running game, it's going to be pick your poison for Broncos defenses.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. And I didn't get to watch any of the game last night. My daughter had a volleyball game, so I had to go to that and watch that. But I listened to most of it on the way back from Prairie Grove. But yeah, I'm with you, man. You're going to have to pick your poison. And the crazy thing is, that tight end, what's his name? I just went
Julius
blank.
Thomas.
Thomas. Is that the tight end for Denver?
Julius Thomas, yes.
Yeah. Man, he played basketball at Portland State, and he was more of a basketball player than he was football, and only played 1 year of college football. So, I mean, man, for him to do what he did last night, you're right, man. They just got too many weapons, too much poison on that team. They're going to be hard to stop.
Oh, they definitely are. They've got the inside, the outside, the deep, and the short. They've got pretty much everything covered as far as receiving weapons. That then, if the running game can get going, it's going to be lights out. I did wonder about the defense though, and I still had some questions about the defense that I saw last night. First half, they weren't getting any pressure on Joe Flacco, and the only time they really got anywhere with Joe Flacco, it was when he was trying to extend plays, and they would collapse the pocket after 2, 3, 4 seconds, and that was some good coverage from Dominique Rodgers, Cromartie, and Harris. One of those, you'll have to watch the highlights. One of those Broncos defenders early in the first quarter just absolutely laid out for an interception. I think his last name was Harris, but it was an incredible pick, and I really was like, wow. Most of the defensive backs, I saw Will Hines last Saturday, who, he looked like he was dirt to Duran trying to catch the ball, dropped it just right in his hands, but he laid out last night and made that catch. It was really good. So Denver, they'll be a lot better whenever Von Miller gets back. There's no question about it, but the defense stepped up last night, and Joe Flacco threw it like 60 times. You've got Ray Rice on your team, you throw it 60 times. I think that's kind of crazy, but yeah, the Broncos definitely looked really good last night.
Yeah, that'll be a lot better defensive-wise, like you're saying, when in week 7, because he's out the first 6 games. But Von Miller is a great defensive end, not only against the pass but also against the run.
Yeah, oh yeah, Von Miller's one of the best, and they didn't mess up when they got him 3rd overall in the draft. So, all right, Jason, before we get you out of here, I know you've got to run. What are your expectations for tomorrow against Samford? I call it a name that score game. You can pretty much do whatever you want. What are your expectations? What are your goals if you're Brett Bielema?
Man, I'm with you. They should be able to pick their score, whatever the score they want to be. That's what it should be. But I'm anxious to see the offensive line, just to see if they can just keep blowing their defensive linemen off the line. Creating holes for the running backs and the defensive line. I'm expecting them to just dominate the offensive line of Samford. I think it's won in the trenches. That's what everybody says. Every football game is won in the trenches, and we should be able to just dominate both lines of scrimmage in this game. And there's really not much more that you can say than it's going to be a dominating performance, I think.
You got a score? I'm writing these down, Jason, so we can come back next Monday and make fun of each other.
Man, I really don't get my score together till I put my prediction on Facebook, and so I do that every week. So it's probably going to stay close to that. But man, if I was going to throw one out just off the top of my head right now, I mean, say 49-7.
49. Jason just big timed us, Matty. I don't know if you heard that or not, but he's saving his prediction for Facebook. So it's all
well,
right.
And the reason I do that is because for the last 3 years I've been doing that, and everybody kind of likes to have what I think is going to happen in the game and who I think is going to have a big game, and then I always have my score at the bottom of the game.
Oh, it's cool. I just thought it was funny. Hey, I go comment on you. You had the most detailed pregame analysis that I'd ever seen for last week's game, and a lot of it came to pass. So it was a pretty good little analysis there last week. I look forward to this week's as well. While we're talking about it, before we get you out of here, you're talking about analysis on Facebook. John Fletcher, friend of ours, has been doing a friend of mine. I don't know if you know him at all, but he's from Pottsville. He's been doing the same sort of thing, just posting some notes every once in a while on Facebook. And he talked about War Memorial Stadium, and he said, "No, we don't need to worry about the score. The questions are how many clock malfunctions, how many times is a beach ball going to end up on the field, and how many times is a wave going to go around the stadium." So my questions, we're making fun of War Memorial Stadium. I'm sorry. There's going to be at least one time where a referee says we're going to have to keep score on the field. There's going to be at least one time where the PA announcer says keep your stupid beach ball off the field, and you're also going to have several fans who, like me, are just standing there screaming "No!" as the wave begins. Some idiot stands up and goes "Woo!" and it just drives me absolutely nuts. Jason, what are your thoughts on War Memorial Stadium?
Move every game to Fayetteville.
I figured you were there.
And I mean, I know it's tradition and everything, to have the games in War Memorial, but the Little Rock fan base is not even sold out. As of yesterday, I think there were still like 8,000 tickets available. Now that's pretty sad. And I understand it's Samford, but if you're going to complain and about have a big stadium debate and everything, hey, it's your team that's playing. I don't care if they're playing the School of the Blind or whatever. It's your team. You should be able to go to the game, and root for your team. I just don't understand why the Little Rock fans are getting so uptight about it. And I think here in a couple of years, I think it runs through 2016, that if they do have games down there, they can't have an SEC game down there. It's got to be a non-conference game. And the reason I say that is because, the Texas A&M every year is going to start being in Cowboy Stadium. So that's going to take one game away, a conference game away from Fayetteville. And, if they did have a conference game in Little Rock, that means that there would be only 2 conference games in Fayetteville every other year. It's just crazy to me that Arkansas would even think about putting a conference game down there, which I don't think they will. But I think after 2016, I think all the games are going to be at Fayetteville. I think that's where it should be. It's the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. And as far as I know, the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville has always been at Fayetteville. It's not University of Arkansas in Little Rock, and I know there's a UALR, but that's not where the home campus is. I think all your games need to be played on campus. That's just my opinion.
I agree. Look, I feel like Jeff Long's trying to do the diplomatic thing right now. He's trying not to lose money is basically what he's trying to do. And there may be some big donors down in southwest Arkansas or east Arkansas or wherever they may be that they can't quite get to Fayetteville as easily. But my question and my thought about this was that people were saying, you're going to lose all this money because these people in eastern and southern Arkansas that have big money aren't going to want to go to Fayetteville. They want to go to Little Rock. Look, if you've got enough money for me to worry about losing it, you can fly yourself to Fayetteville, because if you've got enough money, millions of dollars that you may possibly give to the university, and I'm worried about losing your money. You can get to Fayetteville fairly easily on your plane, and if you can't find somebody to drive you, or if you can't find the way to get yourself to Fayetteville, I don't think that you matter anyway. I feel like what Jeff Long's going to do, though, is he's going to try to leave one game, whether it's a non-conference game. It'll have to be a non-conference game, like you've mentioned, in Little Rock, but I feel like he should probably rip the Band-Aid off and just get it over with. Take them all out. I know there will be some people who get upset about it, and one day War Memorial may expand to 73,000 seats so that they can outclass Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Of course, then they'll go to 80 at Razorback Stadium like they were going to do with the North End Zone expansion. But maybe one day we'll be able to get, and I think in 2016 you're going to go down to one game at most in Little Rock. But I feel like, Jason, that he should just probably rip the Band-Aid off now, take the pain and the anger from the people for just a short amount of time, and get the games out of Little Rock.
I agree with that. And Billamoon's making a great point. I know it's a home game, but travel-wise, it's the longest travel game of the season. That shouldn't be that way if you're playing a home game. And the team or the people that get everything together, all the equipment together, and all that stuff. Get the big trucks, semi trucks, loaded with things. They said it's just like a road game to them.
Oh, it is. I mean, they get in the bus.
It shouldn't be that way. It's a home game.
They get on the bus and they drive further than they drive for any other game. Because, I mean, you go to Auburn, you go to Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, you're getting on a plane and you're flying there, then you're flying back. But right now, the way it's set up, they were driving the bus back and forth. Now they're going to fly back to Fayetteville from Little Rock. They're going to drive down. My question is, why don't they fly down and drive back? Because if you're going to save your legs, you might as well save them on the trip down there before you play the game, then on the way back. That doesn't make any sense to me why they're doing it that way. But either way, they're getting to fly half the trip back eventually. Brett Bielema kind of pointed to donations, and he said if you guys will begin to donate, we'll be able to fly back and forth to Little Rock. So, but yeah, I'm with you on the road game for a home game. I don't understand it, but of course, I'm not from Little Rock, and if I were from Little Rock and I'd been there for 100 years, and my grandpa used to take me to Little Rock games, I might be a little more upset about it, but I'm not. So, anyway, Jason, thank you for your time today. I know you got to get back to work.
I've got two other quick things real quick. And you were talking about the trap. Everybody's. If they brought their family there for the last 100 years or whatnot, since they built 540, it's easy to get up there now. From Little Rock, I guess it would probably be maybe a 3-hour drive or something like that. That's not that far of a drive if you're going to support your team. And another thing is, for the last 6 years, Danny West on Hawk Sports posted this, and he said that since Arkansas has been playing in Little Rock, the next week's game, they've been 5-7 the last 6 years. So they've had a losing record the last 6 years after playing a game in Little Rock. I thought that was crazy too.
Wow, that is an interesting point. We don't necessarily have time to really go into that, but that's definitely a big deal. That there's going to be some stuff that Jeff Long can point to. He's going to have some ammo when he comes up with this great stadium debate decision in the next couple of years. We're going to hit a break. Jason, thanks for calling in today, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, we'll see you. Now, Jason, don't forget I'm coming to your house tomorrow to watch the Razorback game. I will show up if you'll allow it. We are going to go to break. When we come back, we'll look at a little bit more historically at Peyton Manning, and then we'll talk about the Razorbacks and Samford.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville, online at petersfamilyliving.com, or call 479-968-2929.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, joined by Brad Caldwell on the line. We've got Maddie Lassiter in the studios here. Even got Emily Young in here learning the ropes. She's going to take over for Maddie in a couple weeks when he's out of town. But we're looking at the Razorbacks here in just a moment. But before we do, a historic performance last night from Peyton Manning. 7 touchdown passes. He had a good 2 games last night. 7 touchdown passes for Peyton Manning. And Brad, I've posed the question today, where do you put Peyton Manning as far as the pantheon of all-time greats? I know it's you're looking back after one of the best performances in history and trying to do this, but I always had Peyton Manning as one of the top 3 to 5 best quarterbacks of all time beforehand.
Yeah.
And here at 37 years old, he's cementing himself as most definitely one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, the one thing that I would say about Peyton Manning right now is he needs that one more championship to put the cherry on top of his career. I think he knows that. The one thing about Manning, he's very aware of where he's at. He understands that. I compare him to 2 different quarterbacks, one being Dan Marino, where Dan Marino did not win one championship, but, man, he put up some incredible numbers. He was the first ever quarterback in NFL history to throw for 60,000 yards. Peyton Manning's probably going to pass him this year in yardage. He was also the all-time leader in touchdown passes for a long time. So he put up numbers that nobody put up until Brett Favre, and then Brett Favre surpassed his numbers. But you don't hear about a lot of people talking about Brett Favre because he won one championship. Peyton Manning's greater than Brett Favre already. But Dan Marino did not win a championship, but he's still considered one of the greatest of all time, but he's not at the top of the heap. Then you look at John Elway. John Elway was that guy for the last 2 years of his career where he came through and won 2 championships. And I think that the second championship for John Elway really cemented his place as one of the all-time. I think that in my lifetime, John Elway is the greatest quarterback that I've ever seen. And I can tell you right now that you can throw Joe Montana in there, you can throw Tom Brady, and you can also throw Peyton Manning in there. And I think if Peyton Manning wins one more Super Bowl, and you're talking about putting up numbers where he's going to surpass 60,000 yards this year for his career, obviously last night, as long as he don't get injured, he can stay healthy. He's got 3-4 years left, as long as he wants to do it. He's got 3 or 4 years, good years, at least the way it looked last night, left in him. I think that if he wins that second championship, he could possibly be considered the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
Montana's got 3 Super Bowls, right? Is that right?
Sorry?
Does Montana have 3 Super Bowls or 4?
Montana got 4.
4. And
Terry
Terry
Bradshaw
Bradshaw
4.
has 4 also. Tom Brady's got 3. Peyton Manning's got 1. So that's, like you said, that's where he is as far as championships go. Brett Favre's got 2. You've got guys who have got multiple championships. Reggie Wayne's really good. Marvin Harrison was good for a while. There are no Jerry Rices walking through that door. So, and Brett Favre, as good as he was, he didn't necessarily have the greatest talent, but he played for 400 years. And Brady, he's been just incredible. So, but I still put Peyton Manning ahead of Tom Brady, all-time great-wise. Like you said, he needs another championship. But as far as numbers go and just how he's revolutionized the game and the way he can literally change the game by himself with calling different plays, noticing defenses, basically running the offense himself. Right. Peyton Manning is absolutely one of the greatest of all time. Maddie, you had something to say there about Peyton Manning. Don't you diss him.
No, I wasn't going to say anything bad about Peyton. I was going to say something about what I couldn't remember. And that is which of those quarterbacks had the 4 championships and never lost one. Because we were talking about, my dad and I were talking about Tom Brady a while back saying, well, he has 3, but he's also lost 2. Yeah. And I think it was Joe Montana who went to 4 and won 4. So there's something to be said for that if you've ice water in your veins type thing,
Yeah, but that also has to do with the fact that his team was stacked. Steve Young comes in and wins a couple too. So, I mean, there were some extenuating circumstances to Peyton Manning's career. He never had the squads that San Francisco had back in the day. That's no excuse because he had a championship. I don't want to say he had it sewn up, but he had a chance to go down and win a Super Bowl against New Orleans. He threw a pick 6. So it happens. And Tom Brady been in the last 2 Super Bowls that he's been in and lost them both. So it happens. All-time greats don't win every single game. And in this day and age, it's not as easy as it may have used to have been when there were fewer teams and the talent was sort of concentrated in a couple different places. But Brad, I think we can agree what we saw from Peyton Manning last night was historical.
Well, what you saw last night was possibly the greatest game ever by a quarterback. I mean, that's exactly what you saw last night. 27-42 might be the only thing that keeps it from being exactly that.
And there were a bunch of drop passes too, though.
Huh?
There were a bunch of drop passes too,
though.
There
were, but that's just part of it. You know what I mean? Even though you're right, but that when you play quarterback, and we're talking about throwing your name in the hat for having the greatest game ever, you also have to have your receivers catching the football, and that's just part of it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, what we saw last night was amazing. We saw just a clinic. I mean, a guy that knows the game of football. He picked the defense apart for the Ravens. I don't believe that the Ravens' defense is nearly as bad as it looked last night. And everybody's saying, that the loss of Ed Reed, the loss of Ray Lewis, yes, those 2 things are big, but you watch throughout the year, they're not going to be that bad on defense. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL, but I'm just saying they didn't look nearly as bad, or they're not nearly as bad as they looked last night. Peyton Manning did something that was just unbelievable, and it's kind of like when you get Nick Saban and you give him a chance to prepare for a team over a year, just like Texas A&M. They're going to have it coming for them next week with Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
The same way with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, he was able to prepare for the Ravens defense, and once they hit a rhythm offensively, which that's probably as important as anything is to an offense is hitting a rhythm. Once they hit that rhythm, they were unstoppable, and it was a beautiful thing. For somebody who loves offensive football like I do, it was probably the most beautiful thing in football I've ever seen.
It was up there. Watching him just basically, he was the orchestra director. He was just calling it out as it was, and it was all over for Baltimore. Speaking of all over for a team, let's transition real quickly to poor Samford, who's about to get a whipping tomorrow from Arkansas. What are your, before we go to break, real quickly, your initial thoughts? I've told Jason, he's agreed, and I think you'll agree too. It's a name that score game. Lots of different things that we want to see from the Razorbacks, but definitely some stuff you don't want to see. You don't want to see any injuries. You don't want to see them show their hand, so to speak, because in a couple weeks you'll have Rutgers, and then after that you've got the Murderers Row. What do you want to see from the Hogs tomorrow?
You're going to probably what I want to see is basically what we saw last week, except I want to see the defense get a little bit better, and I'd like to see them not leave a few points on the board like they did. I would love to see a 50-point game. You know, a lot of people don't realize this about Bielema because teams in Wisconsin regularly hit 50 points.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they hit 83 points against Indiana in a conference game. Of course, that's Indiana. They stink. But at the same time, that was a Big Ten conference game that they did that. So I'd like to see Arkansas hit 50. I'd like to see Brandon Allen continue to play well. And like I said, I'd love to see just a little bit of improvement on defense, especially out of the linebackers and covering the tight ends. If you could see that, then you've seen some improvement over last week.
Yeah, well, there are definitely some things, and we'll get into. Are you going to be able to stay with me for the last segment?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get into some things, but as far as score prediction and some other detailed things that we want to see. But like you said, Bielema is known for. He has never really shied away from just putting a hurting on teams, especially in conference. Though he's not necessarily going to put up 70 or 80 on Samford because there's no reason to. But if you're in conference and it's show your cards, it's not one of those things where you're going to keep stuff. Then he might put up a hurting on teams like Auburn if he can, or somebody like that. So I feel like he'll sort of meet in the middle in this game. You'll see my score. I've actually told it already, but you'll hear my score again here in just a minute. But we're going to break down the Razorbacks and Samford in greater detail right after our final break.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Give a cheer, never fear. I'll be as monotone as I possibly can as we sing the fight song on a Friday here in the Cogswell Motors studios. Thank you for joining us here on the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, Maddie Lassiter, Emily Young in studio, Brad Caldwell on the phone, talking about the Razorbacks' second game of the season, another non-conference matchup in the Rock against Samford. Arkansas got a chance to really put a hurting on Samford. I don't think that they're going to beat them as bad as they could, but I do feel like, and I'll just go ahead and give my prediction. Jason said it was going to be 49-7. I've got it 55-6. I do feel like Samford could turn one of those two, what I've got them as field goals, into touchdowns, just to make my life a little more miserable there. If they got 10 points, I wouldn't be happy. But I feel like Arkansas is going to impose their will. And, Brad, as we talked about before the break, there are some things that I want to see Arkansas do, although we know they're not going to show a whole lot as far as the offensive plays. They're not going to show a whole lot as far as defensive schemes. But I want to see them stand up on defense. I want to see their confidence rise. I really want to see them iron out roles as far as players and where they're going to be and who they're going to count on.
Right. I agree with you. I'd like to see the wide receiver core step up a little bit more. I'd love to see Eric Hawkins catch a ball. Horton, he only caught one ball last week. I'd love to see that. But really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, Samford has no chance coming into this game. I know that Arkansas fans have said that before and been disappointed, namely the ULM game last year. But Samford has no chance. Arkansas up front is way too strong for them. They're not going to be able to stand up to that, so I expect that Arkansas will win. And I'm right there with you and Jason both. I mean, 49, 55. I might just split the difference and say 52. I don't know, 52 to – they'll probably give up a touchdown, I'd say, or maybe 2 field goals. I don't see them shutting them out. It'd be great if they would, but in today's college football, it's harder and harder to shut out anybody, including Samford. So I'm going to go ahead on record and say 52-7 final score. I think Arkansas will cruise, and I think that you'll see some of the backups even get a chance to play. I think you'll see A.J. Derby get a chance to make his Razorback debut. I think that you'll see some of the backups. You'll probably see Patrick Arends get the ball, Cody Walker get the ball. You'll probably see a few guys like that because Arkansas will be on cruise control to get to that 52 to 55 range. I think Arkansas will be able to manhandle them up front, and the game will be over by halftime. I would love to see a repeat of Arkansas being able to get 2 100-yard backs with Jonathan Williams and Alex Collins, and I will predict this. Alex Collins this time will be the one that will break off a long run. I don't know, yardage-wise, I can't tell you, but I think 40-plus, Alex Collins will break off a run for a touchdown because he was so close in the Louisiana Lafayette game. Just one guy to beat about 4 different times. I think he'll do it in this game.
Do you remember when not Peyton Hillis, when Felix Jones and Darren McFadden would begin the game and you would just be waiting on one of them to just bust one and Darren would get through the line and you would just be waving bye-bye as he just took off? I think that, a couple of those times, several of those times, it was in Little Rock that happened. I'll never forget against LSU when he busted off that long one right up the gut. I really think that Alex Collins, I agree with you. I think Alex Collins is going to get one in this game. It's kind of a shame that he didn't get a touchdown last game with all the long. I guess he had 130 yards. I think you're right. They're going to get him in the end zone. And, as far as the crowd goes at War Memorial, if there's one thing we can say for them, they may not sell the place out, but they're going to be good and liquored up, and they're going to be pretty loud. So he and Brett Bielema and the team are going to enjoy their first trip to Little Rock.
Yeah, you remember Chuck Barrett's show, what was called Sports Rap.
Oh, yeah.
And his promo, one of his promos was something like, hey, do you think that the people in Little Rock love the Razorbacks more than the people in Fayetteville do? He said, no, they don't. It's because they're hammered. He was talking about the atmosphere. That was one of his promos. And, yes, you do see that a little bit more in Little Rock. There's the War Memorial tailgating is a little bit better than it is at Fayetteville. The atmosphere, you got the golf course there, and you've got you just got a little bit more of a celebratory atmosphere. Let's just put it that way. And so, yeah, they may not sell out tomorrow, which I think I heard last that they're down to about 5,500 open tickets. So it seems like things are kind of getting closer to a sellout. But of course, that whole stadium debate is causing some of that, and people just need to get over that and just accept the fact that eventually, if not every game, maybe one game in Little Rock a year, and every other game is going to be in Fayetteville, but that's a totally different now. I mean, the coaches in the past have seemed to love Little Rock. Even Bobby Petrino seemed to love Little Rock when he was here. So who knows how it's going to be. But I do expect a good atmosphere and a good crowd. You know, I think it'll be close to a sellout. And I think that Arkansas will sing the fight song after the game.
Oh, they're definitely going to sing the fight song. I wonder if Brandon Allen will, like we said, they're going to be very vanilla in what they show. Really, I think if you're Brett Bielema, you're sort of peeking toward, I know that Southern Miss is not very good and Sanford's not very good, so I feel comfortable saying this because you normally don't want to do this at all, but I know you're probably peeking toward Rutgers a little bit, and you're hoping that you can save some things for them. You're studying tape on him. I know major college coaches at this point in time, they've got guys that, and interns, whatever they have to do, that they're handing tape or saying, go find whatever you can on Rutgers. I feel like he's got something that he's going to save for him, but I hope that Brandon Allen gets to, especially for those Little Rock fans who are going to lose all their games in 2016 or after 2016. I hope that they'll be able to give them a good show as far as put up some numbers, let Brandon Allen throw it a little bit, and like you said, get some guys like Horton, and I'd like to see, if they don't redshirt Hartfield or somebody like that, get in and play well. We saw what we could expect from Javonte Herndon on last Saturday's game, and it was really nice. He had a good game, 2 touchdowns. But I'd like to see some other guys get involved. I would really like to see, Brad, and we may be pulling a Houston nut here, I'd like to see Nate Holmes get a little bit more into that Dexter McCluster role, but as Houston Nutt made famous against Arkansas, he may be waiting on somebody else to unleash Nate Holmes.
Yeah. Well, anytime that you can pull a Houston Nutt, that's what you want to do, right? I mean, anytime that you can incorporate something that he does into your life, you're doing really well. Now, I think Nate Holmes, I think you're going to see a lot of guys get carries in this ball game. The biggest thing that I want to see, Mark, is just, you do have 2 very good offensive teams at the end of this month. I mean, Rutgers is a very good offensive team. Their defense is horrible. At least it was against Fresno State, but their offense looked pretty good. Gary Nova picked Arkansas apart last year. I mean, killed them.
He'll do it again.
And he threw for 400 against Fresno. Of course, I know Fresno is not known for their defense, but at the same time, he's a quarterback that can throw the ball. And then obviously after that, you've got Texas A&M and you've got Johnny Manziel. So what you've got to see in these next 2 ball games is the defense making strides. That's probably the most important thing that we can see. I think offensively, the next 2 games is basically going to be a no-brainer. They're going to hand the ball off. They're going to get 6 yards of carry. They're going to score points because of it, because Southern Miss can't stop them. Sanford definitely can't stop them. But you've got to see that defense tighten up. And I was impressed with what I saw defensively. I know some people weren't. I thought that it was one of the better games that Arkansas played, especially against a running quarterback in a long time. But we've got to see more. And love Chris Ash, man. If you listen to Chris Ash and what he has to say, the fella is never satisfied. And I don't think that Arkansas will be able to play a good enough game throughout the whole year for him to say that they played pretty good, because he hasn't had one compliment for him throughout camp. He hasn't had one compliment for him during the season. So you got to love a guy that's never satisfied, and that's just the old school ball coach, I think, Chris Ash. And I doubt that he will be totally satisfied with this game if Sanford scores anything.
You see,
but they're probably going to score. But you've got to see that defense tighten up, get better, and get ready for those 2 high-octane offenses that they're about to face here at the end of the month.
The one thing that I really, really hope to see in the next 2 weeks is a little bit more comfort from guys in the defensive backfield and the linebackers especially. I want to see those guys be able to play reaction football rather than, thinking too much. That seems to be the problem that Arkansas's had, and I'm no linebackers coach, never been a linebacker, but from what I've seen, it's one of those, do I go over here? Oh, wait, no, well, he's already caught it in front of me. I'll tackle him for a 7, 8, 10-yard gain. I'd like to see somebody just drop the thinking and just go lay a lick on somebody, and I feel like that's one thing in the next 2 weeks. They can get their confidence up a little bit, Brad, especially in the linebacking core.
Yeah, that's probably as key as anything. I think you're going to look at this team throughout the year and say, the linebacking core is the weakness of the football team. And I think that that's not going to change. And the reason I think it's not going to change is just because they just don't have many players there. But you hope that the players that they do have, they will be able to step up and get better as the year goes on. And that's all you can really hope for. And that's what we've got to see. We've got to see the linebackers be able to cover tight ends better, because that was really in the second half, that was really the only thing that Louisiana Lafayette could even do was throw to the tight end. And they just kept going to the well there. And, eventually you got to make an adjustment. But, like you pointed out, Arkansas in the past, I think, with Willie Robinson tried to incorporate an NFL style of defense, and there's a lot to an NFL style of defense, and there's a lot of thinking. I heard upwards of a 200-page playbook for the defensive playbook when Willie Robinson was here. That's not the way it is with Ash. If you look at their teams at Wisconsin and what they did, they really keep things simple. They don't do a lot of weird stuff. They blitz, and they do a lot of base coverages, and you see a lot of cover 3 cloud out of Wisconsin. You're going to see that with Arkansas quite a bit. But they're going to be solid. They're going to be solid fundamentally. They're going to do the things that they need to do, and they're going to be in the right spots. And you can take guys that aren't quite as talented, such as Arkansas's linebackers, and you can put them in the right spot and help them to make plays, because, they're still good athletes. They're still Division I players. They just may not be Alabama. They may not be quite as good as those guys, but they're still pretty good. They're still pretty good athletes. They're still pretty good players. They wouldn't be there. So you just got to hope to see improvement each game out of that. And I think if you do, I think Arkansas has got a good chance to be a decent defense this year, which we haven't had in quite some time.
Well, I definitely hope that they can play better on the defensive end than they did. I say defensive end like it's basketball. The defensive side than they have in the past several years. I'm just looking forward to a better defense. And they already are, like you said. They're, especially with the defensive line, going to get pressure from Flowers and Chris Smith and those guys. They're going to be good on the defensive line, and that's going to help out the defensive backs and the linebackers. A couple other games of note this weekend, Brad. Notre Dame, Michigan, that's where the game day crew is right now. Number 14, Notre Dame. Number 17, Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan won that game, especially being as at home. South Carolina, Georgia. Brutal start for Georgia as they played Clemson last week. They've got South Carolina this week and LSU in 2 weeks. And then Miami at number 12, Florida. Excuse me, I'm dying of allergies here in the office. But what do you think about those games, Brad? Miami, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, Notre Dame, Michigan. We've just got a couple minutes.
Yeah, I like Michigan because they're at home. Only thing worries me, Devin Gardner threw 2 interceptions against Central Michigan in their 50-point victory. That would worry me because Notre Dame's defense is pretty good. Notre Dame only scored 28 points on Temple last week, so I don't think they're an offensive juggernaut, and they haven't been under Kelly, which that's what Kelly was known for. I look for Michigan to win the ball game, though, but I think it'll be a good ball game. Georgia and South Carolina, it's going to be a meat grinder game. It's an absolute must game for Georgia if they want to stay in contention for the national championship, which a lot of people had them up there. And then, obviously, in the SEC as well, because they do have LSU looming. And that, the SEC schedule makers definitely didn't do them any favors. But, having to start out with the South Carolina and Clemson first, South Carolina and LSU in 2 weeks, that's crazy. What was the other game?
Did you go Miami, Florida?
Miami, Florida. I'm going to tell you right now, that Miami-Florida game is interesting because I am not big on Florida. They didn't look good last week against Toledo. Their offense is not great. I could see Miami pulling the upset in that game, but the only problem with that is Florida has a brutal defense. There's no doubt, and they don't usually have to score more than 2 touchdowns to win the ball game. And so, if they can hold Miami into check, then they have a chance. But if Miami gets the points up and they can score 3 touchdowns, they give themselves a chance to win because that's how bad Florida's offense is. So I think that's a game to be watching and seeing because I think that might be your upset special of the weekend.
Yeah, what games in the NFL are you looking forward to this weekend, just real quickly before we head out? I know Atlanta, New Orleans, Dallas, New York, several good games that are coming up. Green Bay, San Francisco is probably the marquee game, though.
Yeah, all three of those that you mentioned, I'm looking forward to all of them. I'm a big Drew Brees fan. You know, I've already mentioned I love offensive football. Drew Brees is right up there with Peyton Manning as far as smart quarterbacks, and the Saints got Sean Payton back. That's going to be a big deal. You know, Arkansas found out real quick how bad it is to have a coachless team last year. The Saints were on that same track last year. Dallas and the Giants, can Dallas break that streak with the Giants in Cowboy Stadium? I mean, I think Dallas is going to win the ball game. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think part of it is just the fact that they've never beaten the Giants in their home field, so it's time for that trend to turn. And then Green Bay and San Francisco. Wow, I mean, you've got probably, if not the best team in the NFL, going against the best quarterback. Of course, we did our NFL power rankings a couple weeks ago. I didn't have Green Bay in my top 10. That was probably a mistake, but I expect that to be a great ball game as well. It's just football season, Mark. You got Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday now. It's just my favorite time of the year.
Brad's about to get giddy over there. All right, Brad, take it easy. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks.
That's all the time we have for today. We're going to be at Russellville Morrilton tonight for the Cyclones and the Devil Dogs. We'll also be at Pottsville for the Apaches and Heber Springs. We're interested to know your scores, so go to facebook.com/RVL News tonight and comment with your team's score from wherever you are around the River Valley tonight. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. Stay tuned. We'll come back on Monday at 11 o'clock with more Sports Blitz. For Maddie and Emily, I'm Mark. So long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Monday.